Welcome to the podcast featuring Ramesh Subramanian, a seasoned CFO and transformational leader with over 2.5 decades of global experience. With a track record of success in renowned organizations like FedEx, Ericsson, and government entities like the Bahrain International Circuit, Ramesh has spearheaded efficiency and profitability initiatives worldwide. His expertise lie in driving businesses and finance transformations, fostering innovation, and building high performance teams across diverse cultures. Join us as we dwell into Ramesh's insight on business strategy, growth challenges, and the art of negotiation in today's dynamic market landscape. Ramesh, with the evolving role of a CFO expanding into areas like transformation, strategy, and digital innovation, what has inspired you to explore beyond the traditional finance domains and slowly start looking at the non traditional finance domains, if I can say so?
Sure, sure. Thank you very much, Meera. Very, very interesting first question, I would say. Let me start with an overview. With the advent of technology, digitization, digital transformation, I realized that the board, the CEO, the C-suite colleagues want a lot more from the CFO, right? In today's world, CFO has to tell the story behind the numbers. He is the chief storyteller of the business performance to stakeholders and investors. Hence, his responsibility of driving the end-to-end digital transformation sits well on his shoulder, right? In addition, he is the value integrator of the organization. He monitors the value creation and monetization of the value within the organization. Especially since he's the quantification guy. It's the CFO and his team which helps the organization quantify every bit of the value creation process, understand whether it has been monetized, what is the impact on the bottom line. In addition, he's the scorekeeper of the long-term business plan, business strategy. He normally is 12 to 24 months ahead and is looking backwards at the numbers in order to be able to answer to the board or the stakeholders. He drives proactively the enterprise-wide risk management, maintains the risk register. In a way, he's called the person who has to look at future-proofing the organization, of course, in addition, in collaboration with the leadership team. And now he's more and more taking ownership of the ESG compliance area as well. So I'm just giving you a list of things that today's CFO is expected to deliver. But the most important reason why he has to go above and beyond the normal numbers accounting role is the CFO has now become the person who tells the story behind the numbers, right? And his responsibility of being with the management team in future-proofing the company. These are new responsibilities, being able to tell the business story, being involved in future-proofing the company. You can't do all this or be involved in all these without having an end-to-end perspective, understanding of the business operation, understanding of the business strategy. And that's why today's role is well above and beyond the normal traditional finance spectrum.
That is wonderful, background that you shared here. Such a beautiful way of starting with how CFO's role is about storytelling, value integrator, looking forwards as well with, a year to 2 years ahead and being proactive, at the same time centering it all around the risk registry. I think this was a beautiful way of you ending it also with the idea of how story behind the numbers need to be told. And today's stories, I think, have so much more depth and length. How do you see and envision the AI transforming that role of what you're playing today in the foreseeable future and people like you who are playing this role today?
Well, Let me start off with some very interesting statistics. AI, you touched on this very important term called AI. You know, 70% of the use cases on Gen AI fails. You can say some of it is due to the data accuracy issue or data quality issue. But I think it's also because AI, which is at the forefront of digital transformation, needs to be driven by the top management. It has to be driven in collaboration with the business, and it should be done with an outside in view. If you don't do all this, when I say outside in view, it's about what the customer wants, what the market requires before going and building the solution, the AI solution. Most of the use cases, the way the organization goes about it is a very bottoms up approach. It is more inside out view. Listen, I have this capability. Let's try and do an AI application in this area. No, it should not be approached like that. Now, coming to where the CFO or I feel AI can really drive business impact in the coming years, I would start off with the basics, whether it is traditional AI or Gen AI, it will continue to be a big driver of reduction in time and cost of the operation and increase the scalability. Especially if you see manufacturing companies, you see this designing companies, huge amount of advantage is gained by using AI, and it's already happening. Second would be provide the best business insight. So this is where AI's capability of predictive analytics, taking it all the way to prescriptive analytics. That's the suite of offerings that AI can give you on the business insights and business analytics area. Strengthening customer retention through proactive and predictive churn analytics. Huge area, because AI now gives you the capability to really understand your existing customer base, their personas. Then it helps you simulate where the next phase of this churning will happen, who are most likely to churn. It will marry it with external data, understand the trends. So Gen AI capability can really come in and help. AI is going to play a big role in lead generation. So this is pure, straightforward growth, sales channel, sales funnel efficiency, creation of marketing content. Massive progress is going on in this area. And I think Gen AI will be made as a part of the service offering and the user experience. I see that happening as well in organizations, especially service organizations. AI is playing a big role on risk identification and risk mitigation. The audit industry itself is using AI so innovatively. It's amazing. I mean, the quality of audit practices has gone up because they're able to use AI so that they can really focus on critical areas. Speed of innovation, bringing in new products and services to market. Is happening. And I love that famous Satyan Nadella's line, AI helps you deliver unmet or unidentified needs of the customer. He keeps saying that technology will help you identify these and help you create products for the future needs of the customer or needs of the customer which he is himself not aware of. So yeah, and there's a very interesting discussion that I was hearing recently, where the collective understanding or collective recommendation is Gen AI application should be used more as a co-pilot rather than an autopilot, because there is still a lot of work to be done before you can make them 100% reliable. So AI is doing a lot of good work on the customer facing activities, but for it to enter into the world of pure finance, I think where even 1% error can be very dangerous, it's still going to be operating as a co-pilot, not autopilot, because as I said, there's a lot more of work to be done on quality of data, which is the foundation of everything, the integration of data, and removal of silos. So much of uh, work needs to go on before the Gen AI can really move from a autopilot to a copilot to autopilot mode.
That was such an interesting analogy that I heard, a mix of, I loved a couple of things that I would love to, double click on. One, I think you spoke about how the top management need to kind of look at how all of this needs to be considered in terms of the agenda with AI. Plus, you also spoke about the bottoms up today as playing such an important heavy lifting role. And of course, the whole element of co-pilot versus autopilot, I think was the second topic that maybe we will dwell into. If I could really contextualize the tops down versus bottoms up approach, and if I could ask you specifically, because I think areas like strategy and innovation development, how much do you see, say, the CFOs are effectively balancing their traditional financial responsibilities with these newer areas, or even areas like strategy and innovation, which have actually existed for a long time, with addition to so many other technologies that are coming in?
See, the CFO, as I explained, in today's world needs to have a outside-in view of the organization. When I say outside-in view of the organization, I mean he should have a very realistic assessment of its industry position, the risks and opportunities, its assets from an outsider's point of view, not just an internal point of view. And this becomes even more important because he needs to have the investor outlook when he answers all the stakeholders. He's the key person along with the CEO who handles the investor relationships. So the investor outlook or the outside-in view is very important. Now, with this as the starting point, I would go into how much is he involved in the business aspects. I would say as the key member of the C-suite team, he is fully involved in ensuring that the organization stands out as the market leader by having the best innovative products and service offering, two, the best cost structure so that they can be very price competitive, and the best customer intimacy and customer retention metrics within its industry segment. If he has to be a key player in this team that ensures all these three things are done, you can imagine his involvement in strategy and innovation has to be 100%. I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely, Ramesh. And this is a brilliant take that you have here. The whole thing of outside in perspective, integrating the external market insights with an inside out understanding of their organizations as well. If I could ask you and look at even certain further expansions here, and given that today's industry doesn't just rely on innovation and strategy, but also banks a big load of things with ESG, especially the responsibilities that we have towards ESG. And the strategic partnership around that. What is your take on these expanding responsibilities?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. No? So let me start off with ESG. The topic of sustainability is critical to all of us, right? As the world is struggling with loss and destruction of nature, climate emergency, social inequality, and persistent poverty, a need for improved governance and transparency on all the ongoing sustainability efforts. These are not simple threats, right? These are existential threats to the world and therefore they pose a big business risk to all the organizations. And these are problems that are so massive and overwhelming that they cannot be solved by one country, they cannot be solved by one sector or one industry or one vertical. We will need the regulatory power of all governments, the inventiveness of the academia, the moral consciousness of the civil society, and the drive that the private sector can bring to get things done if you are going to solve these problems. So I see business at the very forefront of solving these big sustainability challenges that we are facing. And I'm not talking about just greenwashing marketing gimmicks that we keep hearing about. Yeah. So the second element I needed to socialize is consumers of today, particularly consumers of tomorrow, they really care about what and where they are spending their money. A big market research firm recently came up with a study um, uh, that says I'm just going to remember that particular comment. Yeah. The world has studied many products and observed over 10 years, and the brands which make a sustainable claim around the environment or society are fast outgrowing the rest of the category 2 to 1. I'm just reading out a small extract from a survey result. So, what it says is the power of uh, being involved in all the sustainability initiative is being seen in the business side as well. And also, young people today, we call them the Gen Zs, right? Um, they want to join companies whose value align with their own. And you know that Gen Zs care a lot about sustainability, environment, social causes, transparency, and good governance. As an example, I'll just take the example of a very, very famous company which is very, very visible on the ESG spectrum, Unilever, right? Unilever is supposed to be one of the big players on ESG. They have a graduate recruitment program in 52 countries around the world. 8 years ago, they were the employer of choice in 17 of those 52 countries. Last year, they were the employer of choice in 50 out of the 52 countries. So if you want to attract the best and the brightest talent, you better be clear. You better be clear on what your position is on these important ESG subjects. So this is now becoming, and this is to me is the real business case for ESG. So I know I gave a very roundabout answer to your question on ESG, but I wanted to give you the context. It's not what the consultants are coming out today and talking about ESG, but it's the bigger picture. So, but again, your question on ESG, what exactly is ESG? I'm now summarizing it for the corporate use. The environmental part of ESG concentrates on how the business is working towards the minimization of its impact on the environment. So that's one. The social part of it looks at how a company impacts society as a whole, paying close attention to its workplace culture. And the third, finally, the governance explores the company's processes around decision making, reporting. It also looks at its transparency with stakeholders. I see them as three buckets. Now, what are the few emerging trends that I am seeing? One, ESG related roles will emerge and become more prevalent across the various industries. A demand for credible corporate financial disclosure is on the rise. ESG is becoming a mainstream investment proposition. So all investment decision, ESG is a key topic. The compliance is going to become more and more important, therefore. The financial services industry will focus more on climate stress testing. Then carbon offsetting will act as a short-term solution to achieve net zero. I'll give you some examples, okay, on the of the carbon offsetting schemes. Aviation, leveraging carbon neutral flights and optimizing flights with artificial intelligence to reduce the production of um, contrail clouds, reforestation, wastewater treatment facilities, energy efficient technology, renewable energy, waste management. So I'm just giving you some examples to further clarify on the carbon offsetting and all the other initiatives that are ongoing. Uh, Now, why would a businessman be so concerned? Or what are the positives for the business community from this? Well, the benefits that companies have seen following a successful ESG implementation and these are recorded facts, such companies which have given it the top priority and who have got a proper ESG framework in place, they are seeing top line growth, they are seeing cost reduction, they see the competitive advantage they get, whether it is investor attracting the right kind of investors, then attracting the right kind of customer segments, the Gen Zs, people who care about where their dollar is spent. Increased employee productivity, very important. Improved efficiency, increased innovation, stronger stakeholder relationships, investor and asset optimization, and of course, decreased regulatory and legal concerns and interventions. So I think this, I guess, gives you a summary of why ESG is going to be the biggest game changer in the coming years. And the CFO plays a key part. I mean, clearly, digital transformation as well as ESG sits very well with the modern day strategic CFO because as I said, in order to tell the story behind the numbers, in order to help the organization identify and integrate its value, uh, he has to play a big role in both digital transformation and ESG.
That's such a brilliant rounding of answer where you've spoken about Gen Z, you've spoken about ESG becoming, one of the main investments in an organization. Plus, you've spoken about how these elements of how company can impact the environment, the policies, create transparencies, and hence attract, the future employees. Plus, bring in loyalty. Plus, bring in, the whole idea with board members and with future clients and customers. So I think the way you covered the entire aspect of how ESG principles are integrating with organizational requirements is beautiful. If I could ask you one more question around this space, given all of these factors that we've just understood, what do you think is or what would you recommend the CFOs, and given your whole aspect about being such a people-friendly person, how to integrate the ESG principles into organizations' operations and culture? How would you give some real practical examples if there are any?
So if you're asking me what kind of advice I would offer to aspiring CFOs to be relevant and to be a valuable member of the C-suite, I think I would ask them to, I will identify 6 major areas. They need to develop a deeper understanding of the business operations and the big picture. They need to have that outside-in perspective, as I brought up in a couple of discussions earlier. They need to develop a growth mindset. Now, this is a topic by itself, but it's so important that they have a growth mindset. Every day you find new technology coming up, new frameworks required. So the CFO of today and for the future will need to have a tremendous growth mindset. He should be passionate about learning new things, should be hungry, and he should always ask the right question. The third one is design thinking. I think this is a skill set that all future leaders have to have, especially the future CFOs. Having an end-to-end design thinking is going to be very vital. Being a good storyteller, as I said, the role of a CFO is to explain the story behind the numbers. Um, he has to be a great cross-functional collaborator and team builder, because, as I said, he's the value integrator of the organization. So he needs to really understand what is the real value and what is fluff. He should be able to monetize the real value. He should be the one who should say, hey, we're doing so much more for the customer. How are we monetizing it? It's not always just charity. So you should also know that all the hard work and efforts put in to give a better experience can also be monetized by the organization, and it should be a win-win for both the customer and the organization. And finally, he has to be a great innovator, learner. Those are leadership traits. I wouldn't say it's just for CFO. I think any C-level leader needs to have it. But being a good listener is going to be very important, because if you really look at the CFO CEO collaboration, if the CEO is called the visionary, then the CFO is the executioner. His role is to ensure that the vision that they have come up with is executed very, very rapidly. So these are some of the, I would say, areas where aspiring CFOs for the future will have to develop themselves.
That is beautifully, used as an analogy, where you've used and said, if CEOs are visionaries, CFOs should be the executioners. I think this is fantastic, and it is absolutely brilliant how you've, merged all of these, various topics that we've spoken about today. Whether we're talking about innovation, whether we're talking about strategy, whether we're talking about Gen AI, or ESG, and the certain responsibilities that CFOs and the hats that CFO plays. It's been a beautiful insight today, Ramesh, having you on the podcast and getting your entire view and your thought process, and with actual examples and takeaways for people who are even aspiring to get into the role. So thank you so much, Ramesh, for being with us. I absolutely enjoyed our podcast, and I look forward to many more discussions with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Meera. Wonderful chatting up with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you once again.